All right, so this is kind of a different sort of video. I usually don't make long form content like this, let alone post things on YouTube all that much. Um, but I want to talk about something that is, I think, very relevant, especially for not just musicians, but people of any profession. And it is the idea that you are not good enough. Another way you can classify that is imposter syndrome, which the Google definition is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So if you're feeling this way, this is normal. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you, okay? It's something that I faced and something that am currently facing and something that many other musicians also struggle with. And the reason you feel that way is because the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know. So even when you have learned, or even like when you're objectively better at a skill, it feels like you've gotten worse. And so this can be directly correlated by Zeno's dichotomy paradox, which is a concept that my teacher introduced to me. And so the paradox basically suggests that to get to point A to point B, one must travel like half the distance, then half that distance, then half that distance, so on and so forth. And it's like an infinite loop essentially. So the result of that paradox is travel, let alone motion entirely, is impossible. However, even though the theory makes sense, we know that that's ultimately not true, and that's known as a falsidical paradox. And so this direct, like again, it's very much related to what I deal with, because sometimes I genuinely don't think that I'm a good player. And it sounds, if you know me, that might sound kind of crazy, but also at the same time, I know that is logically false. And so when my teacher explained like Zeno's paradox to me, he didn't really explain the solution. So I did some research on that. And so the solution is that the infinities that make up the distance must add to a finite value. So for example, if I want to go to that door, let's say that door is, we'll call it 1 meter away from me. Well, there's 1/2 the meter, then there's another quarter of the meter, and then so on and so forth. And that goes on infinitely. However, that infinite number, when you add it together, it is a finite number. In this case, 1. Right? So it's crazy. The infinite is contained within the finite. And so even if you haven't reached your goal, let's say that your goal is halfway from here to the door, right? You are sitting at a finite point within that journey, which is evidence that you have moved away from your starting point and you are at least closer to your goal. And so, yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing to wrap your head around. But I hope this helps somebody. But yeah.